Originally built as the western terminus of the Central London Railway.
And it was the first tube station I ever went to in London.
Today, we're at Shepherd's Bush. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of the Hidden London Hangouts. Guys, we've had a message from Andrew. It says, as a child, Saturday nights used to be Basil Brush and Doctor Who. Now it's four time travellers adventuring through dusty tunnels from the future and from the past, visiting huge and small. I say, plus ça change, what changes, eh? Today, we're at a great station that has puzzled me many, many times that I visited. Today, we're going to literally demystify every one of those mysteries. I don't do this alone. I've got three wonderful folk from the London Transport Museum to guide us through this place. First of all, Chris Nix from the museum. What adventures we had.
Yeah, well, you know, it's nice to go out, keeping it loose, keeping it tight, dancing in the moonlight, all of that. It was a great tour, this one.
Siddy Holloway, speaking of which, how are you, my lovely?
I'm good. I was excited to go take you guys to this station. I've been kind of suggesting we go there for quite some time because it's my local station. And so I go through it almost daily. And I know exactly what you were talking about with that part on the platform, because when you see it and you know where, you know, what these things normally signify, you suspect cool. There's more behind.
We've got so much to show you today. It really is a cracking episode of Discovery. And the great thing was, Siddy and Chris, we all went together and we were all discovering at the same time. Laura Hilton Brown couldn't make it, but my goodness, Laura, you've got so much to enjoy today. And I want to know exactly what you think of this place, because it all will just unravel in front of your very eyes.
I'm very, very excited about today. Sorry I couldn't be there. I was traveling afar in the Easter half-term break with my kids, and in fact, many things about my travels reminded me of you guys, because we had a rather choppy ferry crossing on the way over to France, and it did remind me of your recent trip to the Isle of Wight, where Siddy struggled a little bit, and I had a little nod towards Siddy as I felt quite rough on the ferry. And then we road tripped down to the Alps, and for some reason, you guys just kept popping into my head, mainly because we're just four people who love traveling and love exploring. And there's so many things that we've done over the past couple of years together. And I was like, I wish I was with you guys. But yeah, I was traveling to the mountains, sorry. And I've just realized as well, that our lovely, lovely friends, Jen, who sent us, this was my mug that I got. It kind of matches with everything in my set right now. So that I don't think there could be a better mug to match with everything that's going on right here, right now.
I love it. I'm a total mug myself. Thank you very much indeed. So Shepherd's Bush, let's get straight on with this. Station that at one time was the terminus of the Central London Railway, the Central Line as we know it now. You don't need a history lesson from me. Let's go to Chris for that. Chris, go on. Knock our socks off with the story of this.
Yes, the station opened as part of the Central London Railway in 1900 on the 30th of July. It was, as you say, the western terminus, and Bank Station was the eastern terminus of the line. The Central London Railway was the first profitable tube line in London, built after the Central London Railway and the Waterloo and City line. It was built originally with lifts. Those were replaced in 1924 by escalators at the station. And in the 30s, the platforms were elongated to allow longer trains to use them. So it's a fairly straightforward station, but it's one that's been modified throughout its life, and it doesn't interchange with any other lines. So it's fairly simple, but obviously now part of a much longer extended central line as we know it today.
Lovely stuff. When you go to Shepherd's Bush now, maybe you're going shopping at Westfield, you'll go through that station and you might ask yourself a few questions. Number one, you're standing on the eastbound platform and you look up and you go, where do those little archways lead? What's that all about? You might go at the end of the platform and say, why is it that this platform turns into a weird island? You might be walking up out of the station and think, why are these corridors so bendy? We will explain all of those things today in videos. It's going to be fab. First of all, Chris, show me a hole.
Well, there we go. I think you'll agree, it's quite impressive, isn't it?
It's a lovely big hole.
1896 when the...
Wow, that is actually amazing, because, you know, we've talked about in previous episodes about how they sunk shafts obviously first and then tunneled out from that. And in many cases where they sunk the shaft is where they eventually built stations. I don't actually know if I've ever seen a photo of the shafts themselves, to be honest.
And the great thing about this as well, Chris, you were saying, and Laura, this blows my mind. Those houses are effectively roughly where Westfield will be now. I mean,
I was just thinking the same thing, and how close the houses are to the hole at the moment. Slightly worrying.
It's like playing along in the in the dirt, where the kids are just playing by the massive great hole in the ground. Incredible. So that was what, 1897, you say, Chris?
Yeah, it's 1896, this one, and so 4 years before it opens. And if we just flick forward to 1903, this is the station with the parade in front of it, and trams and people in all their finery using it.
Go on, Laura. Take a swing at it.
I mean, what a divine snapshot of history. If there's ever a photo where you just want that kind of moment in time, that still moment in time to just start living, this is it. I want people to start turning around and showing me their dresses and their hats. I want the tram to start moving. I want to hear the horses and carriages. I mean, look at those lovely, long, elegant lines of the ladies' dresses and that kind of nipped in waist. And I'm sure that they've got some lovely satin and lace kind of embellishment and embroidery on all of those gorgeous dresses as well. And if only it was in colour as well.
Yeah, and the architecture as well. I mean, Sid, this is your stomping ground.
Yeah.
It's changed almost beyond recognition. When we were looking at this a minute ago, we were trying to work out where it was, and suddenly we realised the West Cross route wasn't there in 1903. That's why we can't find it.
Yeah. Well, I still kind of recognise it, even though a lot of these buildings have now gone, because this part of West London is quite interesting because it has quite a bit of the architecture from sort of the late Victorian era still here, presumably because this part of town sort of survives a lot of bombing, like didn't get bombed as much during the Second World War. But it's certainly different, especially around Shepherd's Bush Station. And yeah, you got that giant roundabout, that takes you up further west. Yeah, so it is very different, isn't it?
It's cool, isn't it? Chris, fast forward us to 1926. Let's see what happens. Laura, you're going to love this. I mean, look at the basicness of the beautiful building.
So the original design was by Harry Bell Measures, who we've talked about a number of times before, because he did the architecture for the Central London Railway. But here we can see it in a revised form. What do you think, Laura? Everyone's got to have a cigar shop.
Exactly. Forgive me for not knowing this, but on the Shepherd's Bush Station, is it quite common for station to be shortened like that with the capital S and then the kind of underlined T and N?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I think it speaks of trying to squeeze stuff onto a certain size canopy and having different lengths of name of station. So yeah, I think so.
Fascinating. Got another one, haven't we, as well? This is
1949, this shot. Again, people have changed. Station's changed a bit.
It's still got that sort of ornateness, though, hasn't it, guys? There's a little bit of sort of stonework at the top. I still like the fact that your S, your T, and the N, Laura, is still there after World War II.
It's still the same building. They've just spruced it up a little bit.
Yeah. And look to the buildings to the side of it. They've not been caught by the bombs, by the looks of it.
No, the 24-hour off license today.
I was just going to say, if you look to the sides of the building, you can see there are two poster frames with lamps above them. And if you go to the station today, in a completely modernised form, you'll find that those panels survive outside with the station history on the panels. So it's nice that they've survived out of everything there.
Oh, that is fabulous. Look at that, Law. The old hangy signs, the old frieze, the bendy platform. And it looks like paving slabs that they did the platforms with. Look at it.
The platform is very curved there, isn't it?
Very, very bizarre. But still gorgeous. And of course, those things on the side wall, guys, are the things that we still look at now and go, what's through there that we're going to demystify today?
We'll be seeing some of those shortly, yeah. But it's nice to see a snapshot from 1980 here. Not a period where we've got vast amounts of photos in the collection, so it's nice to have a colour shot from this era. And you can see it was quite dilapidated, I think, at that time, wasn't it?
Totally, totally. Well, listen, without further ado, let's get into the tunnels, and you can come with us as we explore Shepherd's Bush Station with you.
Okay, let's go.
Let's do it then. I love the fact that wherever I go, I've got this little bag of wet wipes. I look like I'm about to have an accident.
It doesn't seem dodgy at all, does it? Here you go.
Should we do it? Let's do it, let's do it, let's do it.
Oh, this is nice, boys. This is my local station.
And it's interesting, isn't it, to see how this station has changed, because even in the time that I was working in the local area, this is new. This whole glass thing is new, or relatively new.
Well, remember when we did Wood Lane, boys? Of course, this was all done around the same time.
Yeah.
So Wood Lane was opening at the same time as the Westfield.
And of course, Wood Lane was originally the depot at the end of the line, and this was the terminus on the west side of the line.
Yeah.
It's a shame as well that Laura's not here, because there was a large amount of artwork in this station. You remember the mural?
Yeah, the mural above the escalators and that big poster of the shepherd.
Yeah.
The bush.
The bush.
And of course, the other thing we've done by coming down the escalators is go straight through some of the old lift shafts.
That's it.
It's incredible.
Yep.
And we're going to see more of that in a bit, aren't we?
Just look here, above the passageway, you've got that keystone set in.
Lovely bit of blue
Yeah.
for the dads.
Okay, onwards to the platform.
Very nice. And the team was saying that when the tiles were being stripped off, when the station was being done up, some of the platform tiles were actually pale blue, not this cobalt blue that there is now. So historically, blue was a big colour in this station, you know?
Probably from the refurb of the 20s, I would say.
Yeah. Almost going at the same speed of the train. It's so cool.
Well, we've got an island.
Yep.
And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because the story of this is to do with when the station was being expanded in the 30s, because the trains got longer and they needed longer platforms. This is what we've ended up with, because this was to do with a crossover, wasn't it? Where the tracks were crossing.
So on the west side, because of the old Wood Lane loop or whatever, they couldn't actually extend the platforms that way, and especially because you've got the stairs down and the escalators and everything on that side, so they could only expand through this way. It's quite interesting that they've kept it as an island rather than anything else, isn't it?
It's rather nice, really, because often when we think island platform, we think of one of the prototypical tube, the City and South London Railway, but here we are on the CLR.
Yeah. What's really interesting as well, when you look at it, it does remind me a bit, and I always love these bits, because you wouldn't necessarily, if you were here, you'd never normally walk this end of the platform, because you'd enter there. But when you get here, it's a bit like being in New York. Yeah, it's like a subway situation.
We're back to seeing Edward Woodward's walk out as the equaliser, aren't we? Yeah. With this kind of setup. But it's, aside from it being quite noisy down here, I really like this end of the platform, and I think if you come to the station and don't do this, but you've kind of missed out, really, haven't you?
Well, they were saying there's also a vent shaft on this side, because you can kind of feel how cold it is.
There's chill in the air.
And that, of course, is a huge difference to how this station was originally. The Central Line, Central London Railway rather, was notoriously smelly, actually, and badly ventilated. So all of the modern day ventilation down here is very much not original feature and has been added. So it is remarkable how much work has been done to change that. There are some clues that we'll see later down at the other end of the platform. But, I mean, you have to try and put yourself back to how this station originally appeared. This would have been a wooden platform when it was first built. It was only the third line in London that was built as
We've got some fab photos of this platform actually in use in around 1900 when it opened.
We should probably make some magically appear up at the corner of the screen so that you can see that as well. But the other thing is that this was the first financially successful tube in the capital. And then that huge expansion of the Edwardian tube being built really comes off the back of you demonstrate you can make money out of this proposition.
It's a fascinating station, and I mean, one of the things that's really lovely about this particular one is that although we know what we're going to do, we're going to go through that funny door that people see and they don't know what's behind it, but also there's so many different things that every person sees every day in the station, like this, like other bits down there. There's funny grills on the platform. We can go there today and find out what's behind them.
Well, I think that The weird thing for me about this station is I've known it for a long time, but it actually took Siddy saying, guys, you should come here. There's a lot to go at for us to come along.
Well, because it's my local station, I go through here a lot, and I obviously, well, being me and doing what we do, you spot all of these things and you go, hang on a minute, there must be so much that we're not seeing. Yeah. And now we're about to explore it for the first time.
One of the really strange things for me reading up on this was realising, of course, this was the Western Terminal station, and therefore it was built almost on the same scale as Bank Station, which we've been and explored and marvelled at the size.
Well, that was the other end of the line, wasn't it? There was Bank and there was
it.
Shepherd's Bush, the two ends of the Central London Railway. So it's all change.
So should we go and have a little peek at what lies beyond?
Enough talk, let's have a look at stuff.
Yeah, let's
have a look at stuff.
There you go. I always capture your best side, Mr. Brandon.
It's a large, hefty, 4 lockdown backside. This is. Oh, hello. Wow.
Well,
this is
nice little view.
It's a very strange viewing platform. This was the crossover. Effectively where the crossover was to, oh, hello.
Consider yourself.
I look great in this light. I'm just going to put that there. I'm just going to lean that up there. With a bit of luck, we'll get some nice shots of a train in a minute. There we go. So we're at the sort of the eastern end of the station.
Exciting.
Thanks, darling. So at the eastern end of the station, literally above the track signals. This is really quite exciting. Presumably I can walk across this, can't I?
Oh, so I think that is where the that fan is that Joanna was telling us about.
Yeah.
Well, that looks scary.
Oh.
Head in with the light.
Yep.
Thank you.
He's fearless, isn't he, Nixie? He's absolutely fearless.
Wow.
Oh my.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm kind of curious to see.
It's disgusting, isn't it? But look, what does it say on the ring?
HW and CL. So if I remember correctly, Siddy, I think we see some of that at Clapham South.
Yep.
In the medical bay there, don't we, on the tour?
Yep. And it's 11 feet 8 inches and a quarter. So sometimes need a quarter.
It's quite a dark space. I've only brought a small torch today, so we're going to have to.
But it's big. I mean, if I stand in the middle of it, this is a big, and this would be for event. This would have been designed to be event.
Yep.
Yeah, purpose built as event.
This
and look at that. That's got a smaller. It's been plugged, but also it's got a smaller.
Yeah, it's a much smaller diameter, isn't it?
Now, presumably the other. This is really interesting because if you can imagine, we are now parallel with the eastbound platform. The eastbound platform is just down there. And a bit further down that platform, guys, are those archways that go through to what look like a ventilation passage down there.
So I think it'd be great if we magically transform back to that end of the platform just to show that.
Oh yeah.
Shall we?
1, 2, 3.
Oh, you're here now. How did that happen? That's impressive. Now,
so,
they're what we're talking about up there.
Yeah.
So.
You may have noticed these if you've used the station. Today, the lights are on, so they're even easier to spot.
Someone's home.
Indeed. I don't know about you. I fancy going and have a look at
that.
I
do, actually. Yeah, let's do it. Now, right.
I think you might have worn that out.
So, magic of telly, we're just here. That is where we were a minute ago, through these gaps, which we see so many times when we're on these platforms.
Yep.
Here's where we are, and it is a massive tunnel.
Yep.
Weirdly, that you guys have taught me well to look at the words on these tunnel rings. That one says General Post Office, GEO.
It's a really good spot, and it's right there next to LTE, London Transport Executive.
Yeah.
So
and this one says, look, that one says GPO, but it also has a date, 16th of July 1963. So it's probably all with
It's really weird, isn't it? I don't think I've ever seen that on an LT one where you've got the exact date. It's normally just the year, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that definitely would be the
couple,
date.
I think.
Is it definitely the date on those?
Well, these are 67, these are 63.
So this is a ventilation shaft that was built in the 60s, effectively.
Yeah. So, as I say, this station is one of those built without proper ventilation to begin with. Terrible error. It was quickly realised, but it took until the 60s to build this.
You know what's really interesting about this shaft, because you know how we've been to a lot of ventilation shafts over the years, boys. This has got a very interesting, because it's so see-through. It's almost level with the platform where the passengers are.
I used to think, right, crazy me.
People are just literally looking at us.
Hello. I used to think that this was part of the tube depot, because occasionally you'd see light and things moving in it. I used to think this was part of Wood Lane tube depot. Of course it's not. It's nothing to do with it.
How much you've learned.
How much we've learned.
I also quite like the fact these grills are unusual.
That's what I
Describe
was
them as
thinking.
ornate, but there's just a little bit of something about them.
There's
isn't
something.
They're just very...
They're thoughtful, utilitarian and thoughtful.
But very see-through.
Yeah, well, as you say, the public can see what we're doing, and this is
Easily.
kind of odd. But it's so cool to be in here, so this is
This
great.
has been great. However, beyond that corner lies an even more interesting bit, I think, which is the remnants of the station here.
And just to say, by the way, to this side of the camera, this is the blocked up wall, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so beyond that is where we were before, on the other side of the tunnel.
Running parallel with the platforms. See, so far so good? Great, should we go that way?
Yeah,
Let's do this, because this is too good for words.
Oh, wow.
And look, there's all those bits down there, the springy things that stop the trains making a lot of noise.
Yep.
Check this out.
Blimey.
Yeah, look at all the dust.
But it's complicated, isn't it, this whole thing? Because you've got the bit off the platform there, you've got another bit going off to a public passageway that way, and then round there, I'm already seeing original tiles, presumably from what was the station.
And the poster frame, in fact. What I love here is just the shapes. We've seen places like this before, Charing Cross on our tour. You know, the vent tunnel on Craven Street, you've got those numbered panels to get you that complex 3D shape.
It's so cool.
You know, what's interesting is when you look there, though, into those grills, they have the same grills there. They really have covered them because they are very easily
obvious.
reachable. Yeah, and you can kind of go through them.
It's nice, isn't it, to be able to sort of read the archaeology of the place and go, well, that was obviously done at the same time as that. But here, as you say, we've got this transition to tile.
Yeah,
and isn't it
let's
interesting?
go.
Yeah, let's do it. But also, isn't it interesting how they use the old bit of the station, because it's now becoming very obvious to anyone watching this now, and obviously to us, that this is an old station and a new, and now...
It's just too good, isn't it?
So, but look, we've got, this is what Siddy was saying about the poster frame made of tiles. Look at it. And
oh, hello.
Have you got your...
Look at that. I know. I haven't got my magnetic torch, but you don't need it. You can see the rust there and now.
So on previous episodes, just to sort of fill anyone in who's not done this before, a lot of these look like tiles, but they're not actually ceramic. They're actually metal sheet, aren't they?
That's right.
And that's why you see these specks of rust. I mean, here's where the enamel's actually chipped off.
And also, you can see this is a modification, right? Because those look like they've been put on top of the old Central London Railway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got the archways, haven't you? So that one survives, this one's been infilled as a poster opportunity.
So,
oh, look, you've got these ones on this side. But just look over there. Yeah.
see, this is the bit that I love, because it's the bit of the station that was taken out of service during the refurb and is now just vent passage. But it's got, you know, as I say, you've schooled me well, central line white tiles all over the place from when it originally opened.
Yeah.
Feels like we're on home turf here.
Well, this is it, yeah, but the brown ones that you see with the blue, that's definitely a modification, and because that's not original from
that's not
CLR.
Well, weren't they these metal sheets? Were they not in all the Holden
They were done in the
remodeled
20s
stations?
a lot, yeah. But it's, it's
Charles
interesting.
Holden, by the way, designer, Charles Holden.
But yeah, this would have been a lift shaft because the emergency stair shaft is, I think, over there. Because you can see the insert into, you can see it as you go through.
Yeah, I can't remember how many it had. I know the surviving spiral staircase
Which is
just
here.
over there.
Is here?
Yeah. But it feels like
huge
we're very much
station.
back in our home turf. Do you remember when we were at St Paul's?
Yeah.
We're commenting on the height of these ceilings.
Yeah.
It's no longer that kind of almost mean environment of the city in South London, you've got this great amount of space, and yet it's profitable.
Well, I described it tonight at St Paul's. It's a bit like a sewer. It's got that look of like totally enclosed tile work in very, very circular, tall corridors. And when you look down this thing here, as I know we're going to walk down now, you've got what is now the emergency exit spiral staircase.
And a vent shaft, because it is chilly.
And vent. And then you walk further down, and that is amazing.
So that is 100% the old stair shaft, because you see the actual inlay of the stairs.
Oh yeah, you totally can, can't you? That spiral. Again,
this is incredible.
I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit excited.
Can I just say happy second birthday, by the way, to London Hangouts?
Look what I just found on the floor.
Yep.
So they're the glass tiles.
Piece of glass tile.
From 1900.
So this is a gift that just keeps giving, isn't it?
It's epic.
I really want to see what's down there. So those are the lift shafts, the other lift shafts, because of course, as we've said like 5 times now, as a terminus, it needed to have the capacity to really bring a lot of people in and out of it. And of course, because it used to connect with the tramways as well. So I want to see what's...
Surely one of the first examples of integrated transport by the fact of buses, trams, tubes, all there above ground. It's just incredible.
This is 1900.
Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it? And the other thing is, because you can feel that cool air blowing in, look how clean that is. It's because all the fresh air is coming in this end. That means that it's nice and clean.
It is really clean.
Much better than St Paul's, where the air was being taken out.
So not sewer, is it?
Good point.
Also
okay,
means
so
it's quite fresh.
That's an SCR.
Remind us what SCR means?
That's a
Signalling.
Signalling engineer's room.
Okay.
Equipment room.
Okay, signalling equipment room. Okay, so that's where all the signals are, all the kit for the signals is, right?
Yeah.
And look at
as Siddy
that.
was saying before, you can see here original arches without that infill of the brown and blue tile.
Yep.
And this is the source of the cool air.
And this now is the new sort of staff exit, isn't it? This is like the emergency stairs. Because this isn't like a spiral. It's zigzag, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, so you would call these switchback stairs, would you?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's what I'd call them. A bit like, you know, on Swiss Mountain, you have a switchback road that's kind of.
But look at the top. You see, this is so interesting because you've got this shaft, and it's been capped at the top. Wonder what's above it.
That's the station. I mean, the station building would be up
See,
there.
it's just there's so much here. I'm amazed by what's been left. When I've been through this station so many times before, and you see little things, and you think, I wonder why it's like that. What's that there? What is that door going to? Today we've been through all of those different places, and we've seen what those doors take us to, and it's effectively another old station that's been just forgotten about and used for something completely different.
Well, I mean, I think people forget that Shepherd's Bush is actually really busy because of Westfield, and because, you know, it really is kind of...
Well, it's a highly populous end of town as well, isn't it? So
it's a posh way of putting lots of people living here.
A lot of people.
A lot of people living here.
But the other thing which I've just been keeping an eye out for is...
An S or a G.
Yeah,
or
I'm
whatever.
not seeing them. I'm not seeing any of the poster markers. The S, the F.
And just remind us, because you know, if you've been watching since Series 1, you could tell us, but for anyone who's not watched this before, various points around old stations, there were stenciled letters on the wall.
And we can do this, can't we? An S stands for
station.
An F stands for anybody.
Foreign.
And a G
is general. So there we go. And these are the different types of posters that were glued to the walls. One to say how, you know, the station's opening and closing, another one about things outside the station, and one thing about general stuff. I love all of this.
What about you? I want to go and explore over there.
I want to try and see.
It's... But you know, it's so nice as well to be in somewhere really old that's so clean and doesn't feel grimy.
A rare thing for us as well,
absolutely.
Isn't it?
So look, and again, those tiles, Chris, we've got the glass tiles.
Oh, look, somebody, John something, wrote that in. Same year I was born.
Did they? And there you go, there's a bit of graffiti there, but it's not rude, which is good.
Which is again.
There's your distemper, Chris. There's your distemper colour. We were talking about this over a glass of wine, weren't we?
Poorly dog.
Poorly dog.
Oh, look at this. Our first cave formation as well. You see?
Yeah.
All this
Oh, wow.
calcimite material has come down.
And this is an ancient piece of technology, Christopher. This is a 13 amp socket.
Oh no, they're talking about
Plugs again!
We've counted them, Mr. G. So
You can't have a half-inch that off the wall. See, look
And now
again.
2 outfits.
Siddy,
Look
you
at
have
this
done
again.
an amazing job here.
Hey.
Bringing us here.
This was proper choice. And I love how much of this survives. And just to explain a little thing about when we did this, we didn't have a clue what was here when we visited. So there was a moment where the door down the far end, I said to Chris, do we want to do the reveal? And Chris said, no, we'll just go and find it ourselves. And we did have that wow moment, didn't we? We really did.
We did.
Because suddenly this place is really quite well kept and
is.
preserved. Bearing in mind that these tunnels stopped being used in 1925.
Yep.
That is ridiculous. Literally nearly 100 years ago, they stopped being used.
Yeah, they're in such good shape as well. I
know.
mean, just, you know.
As ever though, Alex, never let there be a moment wasted of testing out a bit of tunnel finish.
Isn't it funny?
How to do your render.
Well, I mean, doesn't this look like this was a staff area or something? Because look at the plastering, and you've clearly got
A wall.
that came through
Good
it.
spot. Yeah,
There's
you've
a
got
wall of some sort.
chased in wall. Well, of course, I need to look at whether it had any wartime history.
Wow, it might have done.
There's an awful
It's
lot.
not very, is it though? It's not
enough.
that deep.
There's a lot of real estate. What I would say is there's a lot of real estate that would have been completely unused if it hadn't had any other uses. Seems an incredible shame because there's so much of it.
It does, and everywhere else you find this much real estate, this deep,
Normally
it'll get
something's
reused.
being used. It is a little far out of town.
There is that, but maybe for staff accommodation or a more out of town side of ARP, it could be useful.
Yeah.
You know what though? There's another lift shaft. I think.
Shall we-
The Patreons, I think.
Yeah.
The paying punters.
Let's go and have a look in here.
You can't believe what the Patreons get to see. I
It was
can't.
fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hope
Really,
you
really
enjoyed
cool.
it, patrons.
Really cool.
And that's it. That's Shepherd's Bush Station, boys.
I gather though, there's one little bit that we should just have a look at. Well, back into the normal world.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, good, isn't it?
What's that? Yeah.
Let's.
Do you know what? You two chat about the labyrinth. I'm just going to park my backside a minute because I've just
Thought I
had
was
a-
supposed to
Actually-
be the
very
old man.
tired.
I'm sorry,
very tired.
which one of us ran a marathon 3 days
You
ago?
sit your bum down here. That'd be fine.
Well, this one's quite hard to find, isn't it?
Do you know?
It's a really weird place to put it.
Well, you say that, the chairs.
I know.
By the emergency stairs. Why would you
Kind
sit
of
down?
admire it
Maybe
at
this
an
is
angle.
like something, because it's my local station. If I just get really tired on my way home.
You know what it is? It's base camp before you do the final
I think those
ascent.
two words describe me, actually, base camp.
Genius. Well, I think that's the end of the show,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Thanks for
Right,
joining
well,
us.
spiral staircase.
Yes, let's take the back stairs. So much to talk about. Laura, first thoughts, because where do you start? It's an entire station hidden behind doors.
Holy moly, guys. So what a lovely reflection of so much stuff going on above ground on the surface, and it's reflected underground as well. There's so much to go at. I love the curves and the arches and the tiles and the spiral stairs, the lift shafts, particularly like the grilled openings. Not seen those before at all. It's such a kind of puzzle of shapes and sizes and depths along this moving timeline of past, present and future. I mean, I absolutely loved it. I mean, tunnel rings, never really interested in these in my life before, but don't they tell a story? Because we talk about those at Charing Cross and Euston as well. And the tiled poster frame. I mean, if that doesn't epitomise a hidden gem under our feet, then what does? Great find, guys. Great find.
We loved it. We loved it. And Chris, in my mind's eye, go with me on this little thought process. A couple of things as I was watching just then that sprang to my mind. I was trying to work out that parallel ventilation tunnel that runs along the eastbound, why it would be plugged. I'm assuming the air is drawn in through the old station and then forced into the platforms because of that plug, and then back out through that pumped out area. So therefore forcing ventilation to the tube system. Am I right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think the way it was produced is that the current extract vent was used as a means to sort of build it. I think it was built as one tunnel drive and then has been plugged so that the air is forced into the station along the platforms and then through the other end of that vent tunnel. And obviously, if they'd left it connected, the air would just go straight through and bypass the station. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And the other thing I was thinking about was, and I'm sure you saw it as well, Law, when we were just towards the end of that film, when we were coming out of the station, there was a large area which had been scratched with large amounts of concrete, really, to make the tiles stick to it. I'm wondering whether that was a test bed for where they plastered over and retiled over the old tiles. And I wonder if they used that as a little test area to see whether it was actually going to work, whether they could actually get plaster or tiles to stick to the old tiles that are underneath it. Do you think that could be feasible?
It could be. I think it looks to me like that was a job that was being partly done because they hadn't finished the top coat on one of the sections. So I suspect it might have been, as you say, a bit of a test rather than intending to fully finish it.
Sids, you absolutely aced it with that suggestion, because, you know, it's funny how so much of London's history hides in plain sight. The number of times I've been to that station and had questions of my own about why it was designed in a certain way, or why there was a bend, or why there was that open bit at the end of the platforms, or why it was that there's a door that seems to go nowhere. And this episode has answered every one of those questions. Behind that door is a station that was forgotten in the 20s, all thanks to you.
Well, I think it was mostly because we went to Notting Hill Gate and then we went to St. Paul's. And so weirdly, in the Hidden London canon, we haven't so much explored much of the Central Line in the past. We've done a lot on the Piccadilly Line, done some parts of the Northern Line, some bits of the Bakerloo. But I feel like the Central Line does have a separate feel to it because it was a different company. And so it has, I don't know, yeah, it does feel different. So when we discovered the amazing stuff in Notting Hill, and then when we did the St. Paul's episode, it just made me think Shepherd's Bush must have a huge amount. And there we go.
I love it. It's been good for my brain as well, this one, because it actually forces me to think about why engineers do what they do. It's great.
It's a station that as soon as we went there and opened the first door, started thinking, cool, there could be a new tour in this. And I think by the time we'd done it, we walked out going, there's definitely a new tour for Hidden London in this, if we can make it work logistically. I think one of the cute things about the Central London Railway is because they were financially successful, because they were the third tube railway to be built, they got to learn from a lot of other people's mistakes. They did also make their own, but they also seem to have learned from them as well. Their first trains amused me as well. They, like the like the City and South London Railway, had locos pulling carriages or cars. And the original locos that they used were really unusual ones. They were electric, the camelback ones. So they were kind of an unusual shape to modernise. And they, as well as track pickups, they also had overhead pickups as well, which is very unusual. We don't think of that on the tube, and that was for use in the depot. And they even had two steam engines, two oil-powered, I think they were dual fuel, I think it did coal as well, but they had two steam engines that were there to sort of move things in the depot and also as a backup to rescue things out of the tunnel. So very unusual. Deep tube railway that had two steam locos that were capable of running in the tunnels. Must have been awful if they did it.
Incredible. Now, we've got one other picture to show you, actually, that we took on the day. We don't talk an awful lot. We should talk a lot more about our Patreon service, because there's an opportunity for you guys to pay a few quid and get some really super extra content that we save for people who are effectively helping the museum survive. And this is a photograph we took. There's actually a video to explain what it is. If you can work out what is going on there, well done. You've been watching very, very carefully. For those who aren't quite sure or are intrigued or would just like to help the museum, join our Patreon service. How do we do it, Chris?
Well, very simple. Go to ltmuseum.co.uk, look for the Hidden London tab there, and work your way through to membership. And you can see the different levels of Patreon support that you can sign up to and what benefits each of those levels gives you aside from supporting what we're here doing now. And thank you very much to all those people who have become Patreons. It's been great to get to know you.
And while we've got that picture up, Laura,
sorry, on a very serious note, guys, can anyone else see a kind of silhouette of ET in that
Yeah.
And there we are. That is what Patreon is all about.
Like the one on the left side, Laura. Yeah, I can see it.
Do you know what?
Phone home.
When we took that photograph, I immediately thought of you, because without giving it away, you know what that's all about, don't you?
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. There you go. So if you want more information on Patreon, go to the LT Museum website and we can give it to you. Thank you very much indeed, Laura. So marks out of 10 as a location. And how excited are you that you may end up planning a tour around there very soon?
Well, you see, this is the most exciting thing. I go away for a week. I come back and we're rapidly texting each other last night, and she's like, Laura, I think we've got a new tour. I mean, this is super exciting. This is this is what we do, right? This is how we bring these unaccessed spaces and places to the public. So I'm super excited that this could be a tour. And I only went away for a week, and look what happens.
I know, absolutely. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. So thank you very much indeed. Absolute kudos to Siddy for dragging us frankly down there. It's a very clean location, so it does end up as a tour. Trust me, it's super clean down there. It's brilliant. But the history is literally written all over that building. Remarkable stuff. And Patreons, there's loads more content that we film down there that's just for you as well. So don't forget to sign up for Patreon. Few notes, queries and questions before we go. We're going to try and keep this episode a bit tighter today. And first of all, Nathan sent us a video. Guys, you're going to love this. Since Series 1, Episode 1, look at him. He's so lovely. Since Series 1, Episode 1, I've had this catchphrase when I ask a question, and it's anybody, and it relates back to a teacher I used to have at school. What I didn't realize was that it would be mimicked in the ways that it has. And Nathan messaged me and he said, one last thing, my son Jack is currently not very well, and we're watching and relaxing on the sofa watching the Hangouts together. He's only 3, but he loves buses, trains and cars. And today, whilst watching an episode, there was an anybody moment and my son repeated it perfectly. Nathan, thank you. Jack, I think you're the star of the show. Take a look at this.
Anybody?
Oh.
I love it. Can we have it one more time?
Anybody?
Get well soon, Jack.
That is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So, so sweet. It's so nice to be mimicked. It really is. Right, what else have we got then? Manju says, I've just watched your latest Hidden London Liverpool Street episode. The ceiling reminds me of Madrid Airport. You guys have cheered my inner geek and given my travel envy a go all in one go. See, Chris, that was the ribbed ceiling, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It's been a while since I've been at Madrid Airport, so I don't remember. But
Baracas.
Good spot. I like the international view on these things.
I was Baracas, but I'm not swearing. It's the name of the airport. Kerry says, love you guys so much. Congratulations on your 2-year milestone. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for being there for all of us. Looking forward to the next 20 years. Love you lot, says Kerry. I know, 2 years, Laura. What on earth's gone on? Everything.
It is crazy. And there've been a couple of phrases today that I've really enjoyed. I think initially you said that someone had referred to us as time travelers, which I think is just genius. I really, really love that. And if we can help anybody's inner travel geek, then I'm down. I think that's what we're here for. So I love that.
Loving it. Talking of catchphrases, Richard says, happy birthday to you guys. Alex, after watching this week's marvellous episode, you mentioned this week's vocab, lingalonga. I thought you might like to know that there's a long-established local cafe near me in Worthing called the Lingalonga Cafe. How cool is that? Alex says, another Alex, great name, by the way, well done. I cannot express how much I've been enjoying these Hangouts, relatively late to the party, so to speak, but I think I've almost caught up with all the back catalogue. To inform, educate and entertain was, I believe, an original mission from the statement from the Auntie BBC. I wonder where I got that from. To tell you, I couldn't find a better place for all of the information and knowledge I need. That is from a guy called Alex, so well done. And finally, guys, we've had a message from Rob and Sue, all right? And in the Whitechapel episode, we got sidetracked really by Chris's escapades with donging, didn't we, Chris?
Yes, the bell ringing talent, which you were previously unaware of.
And Siddy, you put an appeal out, didn't you, my darling, to see if anybody might help us ring our bell?
Well, yeah, because after learning so much about campanology and only being able to envisage in my mind's eye what Chris Nix looked like ringing those bells all those years ago, I asked if there were any viewers that could possibly give us access to some bells to ring. And lo and behold.
Ding dong, we've had a letter from Robert and Sue. We've been invited, Sids, to St Andrew's Church in the small Thameside village of Southstoke, nestling between the Chiltern Hills and the Berkshire Downs, to play with bells. Are we up for it?
Oh, so up for it.
Very much, yes.
If you'll be the ding, I'll be the dong. Laura, are you going to be sort of midway with your sallies and pulling on the ropes?
I'm genuinely very excited, because I feel like if we're going to diversify, this is a good route to go down, first of all.
I never thought anyone could teach me campanology, but quite clearly this is going to happen. And Mr. Nix, as well as this, there's also a 3-mile walking tour to see a Brunel Bridge over the GWR, known locally as the Four Arches. I think this ticks so many boxes, and I'm assuming pubs, pub lunches, and fun and games. This is a day out, isn't it?
I think so, yes. I think the pub lunches must be after the ringing. They must be earned. And I can't wait for you guys to have a go at this and also learn even more bell ringing terminology. When you start to ring a peal of bells, so the whole round circle of bells, you start off by the person on the lightest bell saying, "Look to, trouble's going, she's gone." And... there you go. So
are they talking about you again? It sounds like skiing at
trebles. It's going to be a hard day, isn't it?
It's going to be amazing. Listen, thank you so very, very much indeed, Robert. We are there. Thank you, Laura, as always, for your interpretation. Say what you see. We love you for what you do. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. Sorry I couldn't be with you. I was, chilling in the mountains. I do want to do one quick shout out to one of our Hidden London Hangout fans called Philip. I happened to be doing an Aldwych shift with the team in the last weekend of runs. And we were joking before we went out to do the tours because the guy said, "Oh, I bet loads of people will recognise you because you're on the Hangouts." And I said, "You know what? The other 3 get stopped all the time. Me, never. I will buy you all a huge array of chocolate biscuits if anybody recognises me tonight." And then I stepped outside and Philip asked for a photo with me because he did recognise me. So I now owe the team a lot of chocolate biscuits. But I did say I'll give him a shout out and thank you for attending Aldwych and watching all of our Hangout episodes.
And isn't it the loveliest feeling when you get stopped in the street and someone goes, "I love this show. Thanks for helping me through lockdowns." It is the best feeling in the world, and we are so grateful. If you see us, please stop us. We love it. Siddy gets it all the time when she's on the tube because the pictures all over the tube normally with her TV series, but honestly, we all love it. Love it, love it, love it. Siddy, thank you so much. Thanks for choosing Shepherd's Bush. Thanks for being an intrepid explorer with all of us. It was just great fun.
Well, thank you for coming to West London with me. I'm so chuffed that we found what we found at this station. I genuinely think this will potentially be an incredible new Hidden London tour. We haven't been able to, we launched Kingsway last year, and this year it'd be great if we could do, for example, Shepherd's Bush. But before we do that, we do need to go back to the site and do a whole lot of inspections. We need to check a lot of viability stuff. We have to do a lot of health and safety checks and things like that. The tours are complicated to build and to run effectively, as we've talked about. So it isn't just that you can go in there with the public. Laura and I have to do a huge amount of work behind the scenes to get it, and Chris, of course, as well.
I mean, I don't, to be honest. I just sit there and go on the tour, do it, it's great. Chris Nix, well done. Thank you so much for everything, as always.
What an epic station to find and visit. Well done, Siddy. Great shout. And yeah, I think it's a really great place for us to be just taking a brief pause now in the series after Easter. So great one to take a pause on.
It's fantastic. As Chris says, we are going to take a very brief pause to redouble our efforts to make sure that we are at least sane for the next few episodes, because there's some really cool stuff to come. Don't forget more Elizabeth Line episodes as well. Thank you very much indeed for finding us. You can get us on Instagram, Alex Grunden, Chris Nix, Siddy Holloway, Hidden London Law, and at LT Museum. You've found us on YouTube, so thank you very much indeed. Like, subscribe, and comment down below. And we love you for what you do. Thank you very much indeed for the kind comments. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with more wondrous stuff. In the meantime, have yourself a great day and stay safe.